everyone, and thank you for joining us to Young Adult Matters. Like always, my name's Amy, and I'm one of your main hostesses for the day. We also have a very different show, like we've told you before, and we have different guests, which makes it kind of better for us because we can get to talk amongst each other. But before we get into our topic and before we get into what we're really going to talk about today, I want to introduce our guests for the day. Well, they're going to introduce themselves. So, if you, gentlemen, nothing but gentlemen, would like to start.
I think Joe should go first.
Joe.
Joe? Hey guys, again, Joe Garcia, very happy to be with you guys. It's another week, another time here together we can talk. Again, like I said, I've been with UTPA Campus Ministry, and this is where I know my friends here that are joining us for the show today.
Hello, my name's Joey Bailly. I currently attend St. Pius X. I had the honor of joining my friends here to discuss these matters. I'm currently majoring in computer science at UTPA, and I'm excited to be here.
Hi guys, my name is Joey Cortez. I'm from St. Joseph the Worker in McAllen. I lead youth ministry there with Sounds of Revolution, and these guys asked me to come and join them, and so here I am right now.
Well, thank you guys for being with us today, and yes, it's Joe, Joey, and Joey. So that's what they're like, Joe. But thank you again for being here. I know a lot of us attend Pan Am or have some kind of connection with UTPA, and again with our local parishes. So we're from different sides of the valley. So we work in very, very different ministries: young adult ministry, youth ministry. So we work with different ages. But dealing with ages and some of the things that we go through as young adults, addictions, and so vices, addictions come into this kind of the same plate. So I know a lot of us have an idea of what addictions are. Like, usually we think drugs, we think alcohol, we think pornography, but we don't think of other things that we might be addicted to. So just getting into it and pretty much like, what are some of the things that affect your everyday life that get in your way of just, I don't want to say being you. Sometimes that you don't even realize that you just, we check Facebook all the time. We're on Pinterest all the time, whatever it is. So do y'all have something that y'all are kind of, say, addicted to? Not in the sense of pornography or anything, but
Well, I think that addictions, like you said, it's kind of what surrounds us and takes over our body, and to get to a point where we call it an addiction or a vice, it's when it overcomes our daily routine. We all have different responsibilities that, for example, going to school, and that's something that we need to understand. If I'm attending school, if I'm, wherever you're at, or if you're working, to do that 100% and to be focused into what you have to do. But then when something comes in and takes over that and starts kind of blocking it, like you said, for example, Facebook, am I checking my Facebook before I'm checking the work email? Am I responding to that? I think I suffer from Facebook addiction. I need help.
I mean, well, not only that, like with work and with school, I mean, even your work and your studies can be an addiction. If you're trying to lead a life of just trying to be an image to others, or trying to be, let's say, like my nephew, I try to be the best person I can possibly be, because he looks up to me and stuff. If I am sticking too much to my studies and I don't give him any attention, that may be considered my addiction. And so just like pornography or studies, anything in this life can possibly be an addiction. So,
And I think also sometimes we think addictions, we automatically assume it's a negative thing. And sometimes we don't realize what we're doing. So vices sometimes go unnoticed. I know, like with me, I'm very addicted to sports, and I like looking up stats, and I look all into that. And sometimes it causes me to not focus on tasks that I'm supposed to do as a son, as a student. And I tend to procrastinate looking up sports. I'd rather watch this game. I'd rather watch this movie. And so even though I don't realize it's an addiction, it ends up being a vice that I have. And so we don't focus on so much like it's negative, and we don't realize what we have actually. It's a vice.
But I think also, so talking about things that take us away from it, things, in this case, what would we be taken away from? We're saying that this example, studying sports or being on Facebook takes us away from what, though? I know we have our everyday lives and we have our personal responsibilities that we have to take care of. But, does that play also a huge role in your faith when it comes to taking away from it?
of course. I mean, if you have an addiction, the first thing that you can think of is just, you're being deprived of the love of God, and your faith is just, I mean, it's taking the toll. And in the future, you know, you may not see it now, but in the future, you're going to see it like, oh man, this addiction that I had, I didn't see it, that it was, you know, really hurting me until now with, you know, my family or friends, or if I'm trying to minister, I didn't see it until now. So.
And the bad thing about what addiction does, it takes away our time. Time that we can use to grow. Time that we can use to maybe help our faith grow as a person, grow in knowledge. And what it does, it deprives us from that time, from that things that we can do to make ourselves a better person. And that's really what's bad about an addiction and what it can do to us.
Yeah, and in line with that, you know, like what it's keeping us from doing, or from, you know, from living our life, you know, like you said, talking about our faith, you know, we're called for more. We're called to live our lives every day into how Christ did, you know, following in his example. And the addictions, you know, it keeps us from that. And understanding that we're created by God and we're created for his kingdom and to be for it. Anything that distracts us from that is not a positive thing, and it is a negative thing. But also the vices, that it just consumes you, and sometimes you get too close that you can't even see that it's, that, like we've been saying, that it's a problem. But the vices, it keeps us from doing what we're supposed to be, and that's to be children of God, created by God, and to live every day for the glory of God, and focusing on our vocations and focusing on what we're doing, either student, work, or anything like that.
But why is it so easy for us to get consumed? Because I mean, it happens to me all the time. I get wrapped up in one thing and I'm like, oh, I'll do that later because this is entertaining me now. Why do we allow ourselves to be consumed so easily?
I think it's really easy because it's easy to see the rewards of doing something short term.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know, if I see this movie, you know, I'm going to have a little bit of fun. And we see the short term rewards instead of seeing the long term. And the fact that, like, society, I mean, it's easy to do with, like, the mainstream thing, to follow the crowd. And, you know, you don't see many people, you know, preaching about vices, you know, telling you not to do this, not to do that, not to be on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of like, since it's so easy to do, follow the crowd kind of thing.
That, and I think it's easy to get caught up, like you started to mention, with the instant gratification, you know, like what's the quick reward? You know, for example, if I'm playing a video game, like the new game system doesn't load fast enough. The phones aren't fast enough. You know, my phone, it takes a while for it to kind of get going and stuff.
It's all because we don't have the patience.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that we need to learn to have. And it's not easy. It's not easy to have patience at all. I mean, I can vouch for that. It's like, no.
Yeah. And so then a vice, or what quick becomes a vice, a lot of the times it's a quick fix. It's like it satisfies us
momentarily.
At the moment we want.
Yeah.
So then, you know, instinctively we want to feel that again. You know, it's like, oh, well, or if I'm feeling down or whatever, I know that this specific thing is going to make me feel better. Or I know that, for example, coffee. How many people say, don't talk to me before my morning coffee? Yeah. Or, or it's like, oh, I'm so much better with caffeine. Or I saw this thing on Facebook the other day. It was, and it said, hangry. And it's being angry because you're hungry.
Oh my gosh.
But, you know, to see that something satisfies that, or can change that mood, like, oh, I'm angry if I don't eat before noon. If I eat after noon, I know. And then that also comes into it. So it's, you know, this whole topic of vices and stuff is just top level, because then if you keep looking deeper and digging deeper and trying to find a meaning and connecting it to your faith, you discover a whole plethora of reasons and reasons why, and ways that it kind of works itself into your daily life.
And I think also that sometimes when you're going by feeling, I think we confuse faith with feeling. We want to do what makes us happy. That short-term happiness would not gives us joy. That long-term, like, happiness kind of thing. And so since we confuse the two, sometimes we forget why we're here, our purpose, and we want that short-term fix.
You know, I'm going to go a little bit off in left field here, but addictions, a lot of people, like Joe, he said earlier, you know, it's affiliated with, oh, bad stuff. But what if you're addicted to laughter? What if you're addicted to love? And what if you're addicted to those things? Because I know I laugh a lot. I laugh tons. I make fun of people. Like Joe here, we always have fun with each other. He beats me at ping pong all the time. And stuff like that. And what if I'm addicted to that kind of love? Is that considered, like, can that be something that is going to affect me, like, or others, you know, per se, if I want to lose an addiction? Because everybody says that an addiction is a bad thing.
We also, like, my personal opinion, I guess we have to focus on what our intentions are and where our heart is supposed to be at. Because if we lose sight of the big picture, I mean, like you said, we're doing it for the temporary pleasure. That's why people are consumed with drugs, because that temporary high, but they want more and more, and like slowly they're killing themselves. They are, because they're not happy, they're not making themselves whole. So I mean, just to, I guess, elaborate more on addictions. I mean, maybe from friends that you might know or people that you've seen on TV, anything that you have experienced. What are some addictions that you say consume us as young adults every single day of our lives? Especially a lot of us that are, going through college, finishing college, trying to figure out where we're supposed to be. What would be some of your addiction that you would identify with others? I would give myself maybe Facebook and the excessive dating, just trying to figure out what guy to be with, like, or girl, if that might be the case. That would be my 2 little points.
Well, being around like the college setting, a lot of the times it's, I think, like the partying,
Drinking.
the drinking, and what drinking sometimes leads to, and the drugs is, I think we're all faced with the drinking and the having a good time.
Doing what's fun, kind of, basically.
Yeah, I think that's something that as young adults, it happens, and it'll continue to happen, because, who doesn't like to laugh? Who doesn't like to just, we're just going to have a good time with friends, but then
One thing leads to another every single time.
Yeah.
And it's hard to distinguish what's, clean fun and what's fun that you keep pushing to the next level.
Yeah. And then there's different like addictions. Like there's like, you're physically addicted to something like, with tobacco or alcohol and stuff, but then there's psychological addictions where, I can only focus, again, like the coffee thing, I can only focus if I have my coffee. Again, I think that's another one that as young adults we get caught up in, because, we're going to school or we're starting a job at as a mechanic, plumber, whatever you're doing. And then that drive, it kind of leads you to, because we want to be successful, it leads you to, I have to do this, and the only way I can do it is with a cup of coffee, or, different little rituals or routines that happen, because, we're all trying to figure out what we're going to do with our lives, our career, and then it's very easy to get caught up in that, and then, they become like crutches that help us to get through.
And we get caught up in our lifetime. I mean, our lives are short, and sometimes we focus on the now, on the next 10 years of our lives, and sometimes we lose focus on, the big picture. And one thing that helped me when I had vices, I used to wear a bracelet that say WWJD, what would Jesus do? And so it wasn't to show other people, like, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic. It would remind me that I should act in how Jesus would act. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of helped me, with my vices, with addictions that I had, that I made sure I, was the best person I could be, and not spend time wasted in doing those kind of like addiction stuff.
And that's the key. I think we need to, and anytime, for example, sin, sins can become vices, and vices are sins, or vice versa, or whatever it is. But in order to surpass them and to overcome them, I think it needs to become a practical thing.
It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't. And you know what? It's got to be a practical thing that we can hold ourselves accountable to, or that we know that we can do. When we look at for example, at goal setting, productivity experts say, SMART. It has to be specific, has to be measurable, has to be...
There's so many different
there's different
factors,
things.
Checks that have to be, different, I guess, checks that have to be made.
Yeah, because see, like...